GM, everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today is Friday, the 24th of January. I just want to say I apologize that this is another late stream. I know that the streams this week have been later than usual. I couldn't make an early stream on Tuesday. Wednesday, I was flying and unable to stream. Yesterday's stream was also later, and today's obviously we are now coming into lunchtime in the US. It's about 10 to 5 currently in the UK where I am today. So apologies. From next week, they will go back to more sort of scheduled times. I think there's probably more benefit to doing these a good sort of 1 to 2 hours, preferably 2 hours or more before the actual US market opens so we can prepare for the day and I can walk you through everything that I expect to happen in the day because usually, the information, the setups, the alpha that comes just before that market open, obviously we can map out exactly those levels expected for the US session. We can see where the liquidity lies, etc., and just get ourselves nicely prepared. So I like to do my analysis earlier on in the day before the US Open to get me prepared for the day. And I think that is the best time to share the analysis with you. Let me know in the comments if you're based anywhere else or if you feel things are any differently. Do you prefer earlier times? Do you prefer later times? Sometimes, obviously, in the past, I've done like an evening stream as well to do an update when the market's been volatile. Do you like to see those? Do you want me to jump on if there's a lot of volatility a second time during the day? I definitely can do. Obviously, my commitment is to you and building up the channel. I think I've said once the channel grows a bit bigger, I would like to do these streams live. I think the most value is obviously going to come from actual real-time analysis. So I am going to try and see if I can start to live stream very, very soon. If you want me to do live streams, just continue to please support the channel, share it if you can. I obviously need to get my viewers up to actually have an audience to actually stream to. I don't think there's too much value in just streaming to a handful of people. That's not to say that I don't appreciate a handful of people watching, but obviously, the more numbers I can get, the more that's going to obviously give me that encouragement and also, give me that rationale to be able to justify doing the live streams, which I would like to move to at some point soon. So, anyways, with that out of the way, let's jump into the analysis. And as you can see so far today, Bitcoin is looking fairly strong here. We have managed to get above that all important 105,000 level. We're currently just above 106,000. And I think for me, a close anywhere above 106,000 today would be really, really positive. Obviously, this is the 4 hour, so it's good to get. We're currently working on the first 4 hour close we've had in a while above 106,000. We had one on Tuesday. We got a couple on Monday, and sort of going back from there, we had sort of like a couple back here in sort of mid-December before we went into quite a strong correction. So it goes without saying, we are at prices that we haven't really been able to find too much acceptance above yet. We can see here our highest daily close so far. I think it was on Tuesday, the 21st of January. Let's just see. We've got the daily close. This is on the index, so this is basically a benchmark of all of the different crypto exchange prices. 106,155, and here we were on 106,123. So according to the index chart, we did have our highest ever daily close on Tuesday. Obviously, there's only been a couple of, or about, I think that's about three closes above 106,000 so far. So can we get a new all-time high daily closing candle today? Obviously, the futures market also closes tonight, so that would also be potentially a highest weekly closing on the futures market. If we just go over now to the futures on the weekly, let's just see where we are here. And yet we are currently on a new all-time high closing week. So if we do close sort of 106 or above, that will confirm that. And that's definitely not a bearish thing. That's a very, very bullish thing to be closing a new all-time high weekly candle on the CME futures chart is extremely bullish. So, I've maintained my bullishness over the last few days. Obviously, over the last week, I've told you yesterday when prices were dipping, do not panic. do not get shaken out. Any dip we got down sort of to these moving averages or this ascending trend line would be a buying opportunity. Obviously, we haven't sort of come down yesterday. We have bounced a little bit higher, running through the liquidity. I was sort of cautious. I had bit of a concern when we did reject here. Would we potentially go lower? But I think obviously the big news yesterday was this executive order that was signed by President Trump. So we'll get into that in a minute. But just looking at the chart then, and obviously looking at the path, we are still on track. So nothing, no real change here. I'm expecting us probably to push up over the next few days to around about 110. If we go over now to the liquidation heat map for Bitcoin, we can see we do have quite a lot of liquidations just above price here. So I am expecting price to run through these liquidations at some point over the next day or two. Could happen later today. Maybe it happens over the weekend, but that would take us around about up to 107,500. And if we just sort of zoom out a little bit on the liquidations and look at what it's currently saying on the weekly view, I haven't looked at this for a while, but we can see we do have further liquidations below. So again, if we do reject here, that is still a risk that we need to bear in mind. But obviously, the higher we squeeze here, if we start to get daily closes above 106, above 107, 108,000, this becomes less likely. And obviously, the probability that we just run up higher and actually clear this liquidity at around 110,000 becomes a lot more likely and probable. So for now, that looks like the most likely path. Obviously, the path of least resistance from here is higher. Obviously, for us to come all the way down, there's not a lot of liquidations there. So obviously, market makers would have to, sort of run it down. There'd have to be more organic selling to push us lower than to push us higher, because obviously, if they do push us higher, there's going to be liquidations in there, which is going to be forced buying, which is going to help accelerate that move, likely up to around 110,000. So I personally think that that is on the cards for the next couple of days. I am bullish here. I've not, moved away from that stance. Let's just jump into the executive order that was actually signed yesterday then, so we can see 23rd of January. I nearly jumped on a stream last night to talk about this, but let's just get into it, what's actually happened then. So President Trump signed an executive order to establish regulatory clarity for digital financial technology. So in other words, digital assets, crypto, this is what the industry has been crying out for, is regulatory clarity. And because they haven't had it under the former SEC leadership, they haven't had it under the Democratic sort of administration whatsoever. And in fact, it's been quite the opposite. It's almost been intentionally confusing, intentionally misleading. There have been lawsuits and legal action filed from the SEC against many crypto exchanges, many crypto projects. This is a complete 180 in the regulatory environment, and this is extremely, extremely bullish. There's no way you can look at this and say this is not bullish for crypto. One of the key things that a lot of people have picked up on this is this point here. The working group will be tasked with developing a federal regulatory framework governing digital assets, including stablecoins, and evaluating. So I think the key word here is evaluating the creation of a strategic national digital assets stockpile. So this is huge because it says, I mean, a digital asset stockpile implies they're going to be stacking some digital assets, and digital assets that could mean Bitcoin. Of course, that could also mean other cryptocurrencies beyond Bitcoin. Maybe that means Ethereum, maybe that means Solana, maybe XRP. Who knows at this stage? But obviously, we can start to join the dots. We can start to look at what is World Liberty Financial buying, which is obviously Donald Trump's DeFi project, his crypto project, which seems like Eric Trump and Don Jr. are very, very heavily involved with. We know they've been buying a lot of Ethereum. Ethereum's their main holding. They've been buying Athena. They've been buying things like Link, Ondo is in there as well. So we can kind of get a feel for some of the projects that might form this national digital asset stockpile based on that. We also know that Trump launched his meme coin on Solana as well. He's pro made in the USA. So this would include assets such as Solana, such as XRP, such as Link. So this is all really starting to come together quite nicely right now for our bull run, pretty much right on cue. And the other really big one as well, which I think has gone a little bit more under the radar, but this staff accounting bulletin number 122. So there was basically a staff accounting bulletin, or an SAB 121, which has now been rescinded. And what this ultimately means is that banks are allowed to custody Bitcoin. So obviously, we've seen a number of banks and some of the heads of those banks in Davos. Obviously, the World Economic Forum is going on there. Over the last week, talk about or express an interest in Bitcoin. I believe we've had Bank of America talk about it. I think the one I've seen over the last day was Morgan Stanley, if I'm not mistaken, talk about it, saying that, look, if we're allowed to actually custody digital assets, custody Bitcoin, we will do it. So this is basically saying, well, here you go. Here's the green light. You can start doing it. So that's going to be massive because, I mean, like I've said in the sort of in a previous video, like, you know, a lot of the clients, a lot of the clients from these institutions that are very, very high net worth clients, private banking clients, institutional clients, they trust these financial businesses. They trust your Bank of Americas, your Citibanks, your Morgan Stanleys. They have those relationships already established, so they're going to feel a lot more comfortable having those banks that have been around hundreds of years holding their Bitcoin for them than they are going on to, you know, a crypto native firm or a crypto native exchange that's only been around a few years, and they've obviously watched companies like FTX collapse. They've seen what's happened with Luna. They've seen what has happened with Celsius. They know there's risk involved there. Obviously, there's risk in anything, but they are going to feel a lot safer if they can go to their bank and know that they have some sort of deposit protection with those banks. I don't know if that deposit protection will cover digital assets as well, but I wouldn't be surprised if in the future it does. But that being said, they're just going to have a lot more comfort going with their advisors from these banks that they have the report and they have the relationships with. So I think ultimately all of this news is absolutely huge. And we're just really waiting for the market to really wake up to the fact that, hey, guys, this is massive. And this is going to lead to so much in terms of inflows coming in to Bitcoin and to digital assets over the next year and beyond that as well. So I think this market is ready to really pick up. Obviously, Bitcoin's dipped just below 106,000 again. But I think, you know, closing here, like I say, closing anywhere above 106,000 today would really set us up, I think, for expansion sooner rather than later. And I'm still thinking we come up to hit 110,000 likely over the next week. Certainly over the next month, I think this happens. But it's just really for me, it's a question of how soon. Again, I'll go back to the fact that I can't really see Bitcoin selling off hard with all this sort of positive news literally getting priced in real time, because there's no way that the market expected the news to be this positive or all of this news to come out. And I think some people right now are kind of saying, well, you know, why hasn't Trump come out? Why is he not, you know, just going and buying sort of billions of worth of Bitcoin on the open market? It was never ever going to happen like that. These things take time. But we're starting to see the framework get put in place to enable the US government to hold Bitcoin on its balance sheet, to create, you know, digital asset stockpiles. Cynthia Loomis as well is now the head of, I can't remember the exact name, it's some sort of, you know, blockchain select committee or something like that. But she's directly talked about the creation of a Bitcoin strategic reserve. And we know that she is pushing for the US government not just to hold seized Bitcoin, which I think right now is expected will be the case, but also to make Bitcoin purchases as well. So this is all really massive. Kind of have to pinch myself. It feels surreal right now. And I think the only thing we're missing right now is really the prices to start to reflect what's happening. And it just feels like this is absolutely not priced in. There's no way in hell that we can be in this sideways range, have all this positive data come out, and that this positive data has already been priced in over the last couple of months. We've literally just been going sideways. I think the market just needs a few days just to digest what's happening, and then we'll see that expansion. So, like I say, things are looking really good here on Bitcoin. Ethereum, still lagging, still quite slow. I have seen some people say that, look, this is now a breakout. In my opinion, we've definitely not broken out from this consolidation just yet. We've come right into that descending trend line. So looks like we probably need another day or two on Ethereum to obviously try and push through this. I'm sure when it does push through this, we'll be going higher very, very quickly. And that's not to say we can't come down and make one more sort of test down towards 3,100. But as the days pass by, as Bitcoin, it looks to establish itself above 105, 106,000 and gets close to breaking out, I think Ethereum will start to break out too. Solana as well. So it keeps on knocking on the door. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times now that it's got itself above this 264 level. And yeah, it's just a matter of time before Solana really starts to break out. And I think it's probably just waiting for permission from Bitcoin and Ethereum. I feel like when Bitcoin does make its break above 108,000 and Ethereum breaks out from its consolidation, Solana will break that all-time high. Everything should really, move in lockstep as the crypto market normally does. Obviously, at some point, we expect probably more of a disconnect from the altcoins to Bitcoin, but for now, the correlation is still very, very apparent, and crypto is kind of moving completely correlated still at this moment. So let's see what happens. Like I say, Ethereum looks like it just needs a bit more time. Solana looking ready to get going very soon. Pepe as well, just starting to put in a bottom. So obviously higher low today compared to yesterday's candle. Still struggling to get real momentum and push back up. So what I'm really looking for is for Pepe to regain the prior all-time high that's around about this 1716 level. And we've got a little bit of work to do to get there, but I really think it will rest on the Ethereum breakout. When Ethereum breaks out, I expect Pepe to get back above this level and go for its breakout as well. Obviously, Pepe being a high beta play to Ethereum here. And yeah, I mean, that's all the majors. Quick look at the dollar. So the DXY is continuing to come off. Obviously, this is something I've talked about. I said I was expecting a rejection from this box here. That's exactly what we've got. We got just above the 618 golden pocket again, coming into big resistance area. I talked about Trump coming in and looking to devalue the dollar. I said he's not going to want a strong dollar. He knows that a strong dollar is bad for business in the US. It makes exports more expensive. It makes it more expensive to invest in the US. Despite that, the US is still getting record levels of investment. In his first week, we've had obviously the 500 billion from the syndicate of Malaysian SoftBank, and I think what else was it? Oracle as well. A few firms going in on that. That's the 500 billion for the AI. Saudi Arabia are talking about also investing a huge sum of money. I think around 700 billion. So, it's just incredible. Obviously, the man that wrote the book on it, literally the art of the deal, is making deals left, right, and center in his first week. So encouraging to see, and the dollar is starting to come down. Trump has actually come out and said he wants interest rates down. He wants a weaker dollar, and the market is responding to his comments. The market knows that Trump is a man that gets things done. He's proving that in his first week. So yeah, dollar starting to really come off here, and I'm thinking we probably come down to this 106.1 and then we can reevaluate from here. I mean, if we do lose this level, then I think that really opens up the door to much lower prices. We'd in the interim, we'd have this support here as well. So potentially we come into this around about 105.3. Of course, there's going to be bounces along the way, but this is now beginning to look like a full-on reversal for the dollar. We're seeing the 20-day moving average start to come down. We're starting to lose the 50-day moving average as well. Obviously, this moving average hadn't even been tested since October time. So yeah, really good. Trump now talking about less tariffs as well on China. So obviously lower tariffs. There's going to be less inflation. So it's all, and also the drilling as well. Drill, baby, drill. I mean, more energy in the US, like lower energy prices, lower inflation. So it all ties in. Obviously, macro is relevant here because if we have, the dollar weakening, that relatively is going to be better for crypto assets. People are not going to want to hold dollars if the dollar is burning a hole through the floor. They're going to want to get their dollars into risk assets and offset those losses, which is what we are seeing. Obviously, we're seeing this happen in the stock market as well. S&P, new all-time highs, breaking out from this descending trend. This is what we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks here. Same with the NASDAQ as well, breaking out and looking like it wants all-time highs soon as well. So, yeah, is there anything else to look at? I talked a lot about Total 3 and wanting to see Total 3 break out. So this trend line, obviously on the 4 hour here, see we've still got a bit of work to do. So altcoins aren't quite ready yet to go straight up vertical, but this is really what I'm waiting for to position more aggressively into altcoins, is this descending trend line to break out. Obviously, this is similar to the descending trend line we've seen on the stock market. We just want to see that breakout. We want to get back above the prior all-time high, which is 1.13, and we should be onwards and upwards from there. So yeah, just still taking it a little bit easy on altcoin long positions. Obviously, spot, I have been accumulating heavily. I'm pretty much maxed out spot-wise myself. Obviously, the total market cap as well, we can see we are grinding back up towards all-time highs. So the all-time highs are coming in around about 3.73 trillion. So we've got a little bit of work to do, but we can see we are looking good here. Things are looking strong, getting closer and closer to breakouts on those, and Bitcoin dominance as well. We can see just consolidating. We have bounced, we have got above this descending trend line, but I am thinking this probably does come off at some point. We are getting to that point of the cycle, and we've talked about this in terms of the longer term, where it's that final year of the bull run. It's that year after the Bitcoin halving, when usually we see a red yearly candle for Bitcoin dominance. Will we get one this year? I do believe we will. I think things like talking about a digital assets stockpile over a Bitcoin strategic reserve, surely that has to be, music to the ears of altcoins, and they really, I would expect them really to make a run soon. I mean, this is by far the most bullish thing we ever could have hoped for altcoins. Even right before Trump came in, most people were thinking it would be all about Bitcoin strategic reserve, and we've seen him launch a meme coin on Solana. We've seen him talk about a digital asset stockpile, which likely includes other digital assets outside of Bitcoin. So this is massively bullish for alts. Nobody priced this in. I'm sorry, but nobody priced this in. And to see altcoins still struggling against Bitcoin seems like a complete inefficiency to me. So let's see. Bitcoin starting to get back above 106,000. Let's see where we go from here. I am expecting almost an imminent push up towards 110,000. Like I say, there's a bunch of liquidations just above these highs here, which I'm sure the market makers will have fun taking out. And, that move there could really start to send us higher. So I think it's just a case of being patient for a few more days. One more week. We've been saying that a lot on the channel, but yeah, I mean, there's nothing to worry about yet. We all want this to moon a lot quicker, but just realize and remember that sometimes these markets take a little bit more time than we all want, and they do like to test our patience. And I feel like that is what's happened over the last week with all this bullish news coming out. And I do think the market really will start to reflect this bullish news very, very soon, and we will start to see the resumption of Bitcoin making new all-time highs. The same for Solana, and Ethereum does likely follow at some point in February time, in my opinion. So I'm going to wrap it up there. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you all on the next one. GM, GM, GM.